on here, we're never going to know where the fuck we are.
Yeah. Should we go?
Welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you. I've got Mr. Pete Odgers with me again. And we wanted to do something very, very simple today. Now, we've recognised that our dear friend Adrian Barker at Bark and Jack has recently done his
Tier list,
tier list, tier list. And others like Nico have done it as well. But they've done big brands. Now, Pete and I, as you know, have a passion for small brands, independent brands. So we wanted to do it for independent brands. So this is, at least to our knowledge, the world's first tier list for independent brands. Pete has spent the week coming up with a list of brands.
I wish that was the case.
And then, this man's not been working at all. At the very least, we know that there'll be comments about brands that we've missed out and brands that we've included that maybe shouldn't have been included. Yeah. And we've got some rankings for you. So, Pete, maybe you should. Well,
yeah. Look.
Maybe you should take on the rankings. How are we going to rank these things? How are we going to?
Nico Leonard is probably the sort of God tier of tier lists, right? Mm-hmm. In a way, and God tier is what he was then known for, and all of that. And so, Casio. So what's Justin saying? It's win the day. Every email, if you ever get an email from him, you probably get loads from him.
I don't send many emails.
Win the day is what he says. So that is our God tier, basically. And then I think the phrase we use so often to each other is knocking out the park. They're knocking out the park.
Despite having never played baseball.
Despite having never played baseball before.
We did play a bit of cricket growing up, but that's a side note.
Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, and then some hits.
Some hits
and misses. Work to do.
Yep.
And then could do better at the bottom. Now, the other thing I wanted to say was that, as you say, these are indies. So we might end up being quite top heavy because one, we both love indies, and two, I think for independent brands, I've got such an appreciation. Usually the people who are doing this, it takes a certain amount of bravery to go out on your own, and certainly takes a lot of craft and wizardry, so to speak. And so a lot of the people on our list, and a lot of people we've missed out, are absolutely amazing at what they do and absolutely brilliant. So I thought, looking at them, there's not too many I'm thinking could do better work.
I woke up in a cold sweat last night, about 2 a.m. in the morning, and I thought to myself, how do we actually categorise independents these days? And I thought to myself, most of these people are still alive, and most of their names are on the dials.
Yeah.
And we could have gone for some bigger brands that are still independent, the likes of...
well, actually, AP, by the way, always say they're independent.
Or Patek, or Jura Perigo, or Lucis Nodan more recently, but we didn't. Could have gone Nomos as well, but we didn't. Anyway, shall we dive into it? Pete, you've got a quick disclaimer before we dive into it.
Disclaimer from basically, one of the recent videos, Buying the Elegant, I know there was a lot of feedback there of like, I was very dangerous what I did, spending the money and putting myself in a real pickle. I just want to say, look, as in, you shouldn't ever put your family into a pickle with what you're doing. I think with that, the story there was that when I bought this one, I had to find the money very quickly. That was a total mess. I thought with the Elegant, I've got 5-6 months, it'll all be fine. I planned to sell this other watch, and then it was the spiraling of that. But look, I was in a pickle for sort of 2-3 weeks. That was the 2-3 weeks. But yeah, never put your family or anyone else. It was sweaty, way more sweaty than I wanted it to be. And I think there's a vulgarity talking about prices and whatnot and stuff that goes under the radar, and we don't kind of do it in the watch industry.
What we didn't do was we didn't do a good enough job of actually positioning the situation and the realities of it. We came into this because we want to talk about everything.
Yep.
We want to talk about everything.
Yep.
And in a totally honest way. And I think today you'll find that we're going to be absolutely square, straight up and honest. And I think in that situation, both Pete and I, we both put ourselves in positions we desperately should not have done. We shouldn't have done it. And actually in the messages, do not do it yourself. Of course, we did get a lot of messages saying, hey, I've been there and I know it. And anyway,
and
all balanced
that's
stuff.
Watch collecting, right? No one talks about it. You get a phone call.
Yes.
And then you go, I've got to find the money in this amount of time. And you don't have that with other things.
Exactly.
You walk into a shop and buy something.
Exactly.
So it is something in the watch collecting world and it's a tough balance.
It's a tough balance.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right, guys, we're coming up to Christmas, so it's the perfect time for us to do this. To make purchases, no. It's just a nice time of the year to sit back and reflect on what's happened and to consider these incredible brands. So let's take it from the top. Who we got first?
First up, we've gone top heavy. FP Jean, right at the top. So for me, that is win the day.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've been wearing Jean for freaking ages. I've talked about the design aesthetic of him.
You've got the yellow Parallon.
I've got the yellow Parallon.
Anyone doesn't know, Sport line, Line Sport.
I just think, materials he uses, everything he does, he tries to push the watch game on further, even the Elegant that we talk about, what he does with it. So I just think in every area, he is, they are the king of independence, really. So yeah, I mean, for me, he's a clear win the day.
I'm inclined to agree, but my pushback is that what was I going to say? So we both love the Elegant. He is now and more recently MB&F have come into the Chanel stable, but he's not entirely independent. So that would be my only pushback. Now I hear from anyone who knows the brand or anyone that works with Chanel that they're incredibly hands off. So there isn't much interference. Yeah. But I would just say that would be my only question mark, which might say that he's knocking out the park.
I can't imagine Jean going, hello Chanel? Yeah, you want to make me like this? Oh, right, I'll do it. Yeah, he's not that type of guy.
Because of the pricing, because no one else really, like there are maybe one or two others, the Rexeps of the world and others that can compete with the sort of multiples they're still achieving at auction. I'm going to give you this one, people. And we're both married men, so we know how to give and take a little bit. I'm going to give you this one, knowing that down the line I'm going to have to take a little bit. Let's give him a win the day. So FP Journe first, and he's going in at the bloody top.
Right at the top.
Okay, right.
Strong start. De Bethune.
De Bethune.
Your thoughts?
Immediately off the cuff, I got to meet the team this year at Geneva Watch Days. Amazing team. They are owned by the Watchbox company, the 1916. And so there is question marks around that independence again, but they are one of those old school brands that we always associate with independent. Sizing has been an issue for me, and pricing has been an issue for me. Those two factors, I can't help but knock them down from win the day to knocking out the park to some hits. I'm going to actually go in at the middle there. I'm going to go some hits because the Starry Seas and the Starry Skies at 39 mil, right? The new variation. That's welcomed, very welcomed, but still at 70, I think, plus thousand Swiss francs. It feels very unattainable to me, at least.
You make a very good argument. You kind of made all the points I was going to make. I was edging towards knocking it out of the park. And I think back in the day, exactly, totally right, sizes. And as I said to you the other day, there are a few dogs in the older collection.
There are, but those are the ones that are most.
But I quite like them. And again, on the secondary market, they are more affordable. And I still love the design. It's still like a spaceship on your wrist.
I couldn't agree more. And he is a bloke. Danny Flageolet is a founder. Incredible bloke. Never in the limelight. You never see him. A mountain man. The architecture, the finishing, insane. There's a reference that's 48 millimeters in titanium, and it was a dive watch that he made, which is tanking in the secondary. I mean, they're at 20 grand of tanking, relative terms, 20 grand versus typically double that. That's a reference I'm interested in. It's kind of ugly, but anyway, there we go.
Ugly.
So, are you okay to agree that?
Give and take. So I was closer to knocking out the park because I love the Starry Seas so much. It's one of my favourite watches that's been made, and I do think they're going totally in the right direction.
I agree.
So I think they are getting. I think maybe if we do this in 2 years' time, I think knocking out the park is happening. So okay,
I need to see a little bit more from the collection. If we start seeing annual calendars and 3D moons and other things in that 39 category. And the price
I think they are close. They're
close. They're very close.
The top of some hits, but let's put them some hits. I'll give that to you. Laurent Ferrier. Now look, you're wearing that, so you've got to go first.
I bought this from the 1916 company, so shout out to them. Thank you very, very much for helping me with this. It's a sort of an ivory dial micro rotor. I saw this in William & Son years and years and years ago, and it just blew me away. The colour is insane. The micro rotor is insane. Natural escapement. For me, there's only one option. It's win the day, and I'll tell you why. The number of people that I spoke to this year after Watches and Wonders, that when they launched the Classic Moon, their first complicated model in a classic case shape, annual calendar with a loomed moon phase at 6, so many people reached out and said that is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. A combination of baton and Roman numerals.
The Roman numerals done right as well. I'm not a huge Roman numeral guy, but they were so thin, so elegant.
That was one of the watches in it, one at GPHG for the moon complication. So I just feel like everything that they're doing is another level of elegance that can't be touched by anyone else.
Again, I was possibly knocking out the park. I was knocking out the park coming into today because I thought, right, and I love the Sport Auto. Again, distinct design, and distinct design even on the dress watches. You can tell it's a Laurent Ferrier even from quite far away from the room. This maybe changed me because I'd not seen the case back at this, and the older watches. I mean, the finishing is off the charts, and it was almost like a Rexepi. That was who I thought straight away, and I was kind of jolted by it. And so, look, I'll go your way. We can have Laurent Ferrier in with the day. Right. It also helps. I mean, lovely guy, lovely company, lovely son as well, who's family.
The problem we've got here, guys, is as you know, Pete and I are relentlessly positive. So this is going to be entirely different to any other tier list out there. There's not going to be a great deal of negativity, but we will fight to keep things away from that win the day as much as we can. So we've got 2 in win the day. We've got Journe and Laurent Ferrier.
I think we have a top loaded set though. Christopher Ward is next up. Very different now. So. Yes. He's certainly knocking it out of the park in many ways. And again, not having retailers, not having boutiques, so he's able to do things differently, able to keep the cost down so much. I think what what he produced last year, and then I think he's updated it this year.
The Belcanto.
The Belcanto, that was the one I was
The
thinking.
12, which is reminiscent of another design out there, but nonetheless amazing.
Yeah. I just think value for money. What you're getting in terms of as a watchcraft there, they're unmatched really, and so that was where you sort of go towards the win the day. I just think maybe from a design perspective, it isn't together enough for me as a top, even as it's a lower price point, but it's not quite rounded as a design. The older stuff and things like that, knocking it out the park right now.
They're knocking it out the park.
So let's put them there.
Christopher Ford knocking out the park.
Knocking out the park right now. There we go. MB&F.
MB&F. What a year it's been. So they have been acquired partly by Chanel this year, and I feel that's well deserved. Max is an incredible character, no doubt.
Talking positivity, man.
Incredible. What a leader, what a thinker, he's had all of those words before, but what a man. My issue is, there's only one watch that I could buy from them, and I would buy from them. The Legacy machine. And I hear at 40 mil, that's the only watch that's not the only watch they sell. They sell a vast number of those watches, but they really don't sell a lot of the very outrageous stuff. But the genius in the marketing is that outrageous stuff is what draws eyeballs.
Yeah.
So to me, they can only fit into some hits.
Yeah.
They can only.
It's a real tough one, isn't it? Because again, whenever I go to Dubai Watch Week, I love sitting in their booth. They seem to hire the just most positive. Great people, and the Legacy machine is again, it's similar to the Starry Seas. It's up there in terms of I can just fiddle and play with them. They've done so many different types of it as well. And
Voutiline and movement.
Voutiline and movement. It's absolutely incredible. And I do think they're doing the right thing. What was the watch they released last year? That was totally out there. I mean, again, would I wear it? Would I have it on my wrist? No.
With the four different hemispheres in the world.
But again, love the fact they're pushing horology to different levels, and they're doing something different. So I'm a huge fan of MB&F. But you're right.
By definition,
they've only
got
it has to be some hits. So they're again top of the tree in some hits. And
Max, well done. You're going to enjoy Christmas this year, so well done.
Yeah, 100%. You're cheering them on.
Every step.
Every step. Baltic. You go Baltic, because I think
I'm going to say knocking it out the park, because this year what they've done is there was an agreement in the watch world that I think. For stone dials, that we should have a certain level of pricing for a stone dial, because it's such a special thing. And they've come in and they've really given the middle finger up to everybody out there in the industry. And they've come in with a stone dial case, steel, and a bracelet, a Milanese bracelet, an ultimate elegant combo from yesteryear. Yeah. And they've just devastated the industry.
I think it's similar to the Belcanto.
Yeah.
It was a similar sort of thing, as in like, oh, what, you're telling me you have to spend this amount to have this type of a watch?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that was unreal. But even before then...
The designs are on point. The proportions are on point.
Yeah. Are you tempted by Win the Day?
I am tempted by it. I think they've still got some way to go in certain respects. I think the watchmaking side of things could be improved, but the design is certainly absolutely spot on.
Yeah. And they've got variation as well.
They've got variation,
but then consistency. Yeah, exactly. We go. Yeah.
Jesus wept.
So
are they knocking out? I think just because we've got to reserve some.
I'm with you.
Let's say they're knocking out the park.
I think they are right in the middle of knocking out the park.
Yeah,
I think you're totally right on that. Okay, so then we go to Recep Recepi or Akrivia.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, look, been fortunate enough to get hands on, because not many people have with those. Again, out in Dubai, always a lovely guy, really friendly. He's a total perfectionist, and you can see that in the watches. The finish is just insane. And his design aesthetic, I think, is stunning as well. They've all got almost like little hidden gems in them. He hasn't got that many different watches though, right? But as in the ones that he's got are near perfection. I know he did the collab with Louis Vuitton, and that got a little bit of criticism. Again, I haven't had hands on with that. Oh no, I did have hands on with that watch, and I think it's underrated. Once you have it, you then see actually what he's done there. I think it gets criticised by people who saw it online. Yeah.
I'd love to know
he's again between knocking out the park and Win the Day, because he is a bit of a hero out of the real niche in the indies.
I'd love to have known the deal that he struck with LV to make that watch, because if you look at his Instagram, most of it is about the LV watch. I'd say 3/4 is about the LV, and then at the bottom you've got the RC22, whatever it is, his model. But just no one can touch him right now. What I would say is that the Akrivia stuff, he's recently sort of refined the two brands and sort of brought them together, I think. But they are fetching mad money in auction right now. Wow. The Akrivia stuff by itself, which is much more sort of avant-garde than his own design.
So I'm going to put it to you: Win the Day or knocking out the park?
I can't help but think that he's doing everything at the moment, and you can't not have him in Win the Day.
Yeah.
Because he's £1 million watch at auction.
Yeah.
There's some funny business at auction, we all know that. But, that's not him. That's the market, and that's other factors.
And I do think, having spoken to him, he isn't, as much as, the Louis Vuitton thing, look, we know that people in charge of Louis Vuitton are massive independent watch fans and geeks. And so he will have known that, so that's the collaboration. So I think he will keep it. He's not going to expand and suddenly sell himself out or sell the soul out. He is desperate to just keep refining and refining and refining. So I think he'll probably stay at Win the Day for
and let's
many years
make
to
a
come.
point that a lot of these auction results at times, people think that's going to the watchmaker and the brand, but it's not. He sells at a certain price.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not cheap, but £1 million at auction, that's aside from him.
Yeah.
And that's important. A lot of these people are makers, not big entrepreneurs. So there we go.
Okay,
Winning the
next,
day.
Moser.
Big year with Studio Underdog collaboration. For me, too many collaborations, personally.
Yeah.
I'm yet to find something that really, really hits me. And I like almost everything.
On that, did you try the enamel dial streamliner?
No.
Have you tried that? Now, I think that might
Be the one.
That was, again, Dubai Watch Week last year. Put that on my wrist, and my best mate put it on his wrist, and he was like trying to sell us. He was trying to move to a new house, and then he started trying to sell that house. Honestly, as a streamliner, I really wanted to like it. Different design. Loved the fact that it was distinct with what they were doing. It was different to other steel sports watches, so great credit to them. But when I tried it, it was too bulky, and it just didn't work. And it was so strange then to go when they just handed me that at Dubai Watch Week, and I was thinking, well, it's another streamliner. I'll try it on. Oh no, it's a smaller case. And the smaller case, the smaller proportions worked, and the enamel dial was incredible. So that won at GPHG, and I was not surprised. When you have that on, it's the best streamliner, and it for me was the first watch, I agree with you, that I went, if I didn't have this, I'd be going towards that. But I agree, too many collabs.
I saw a funky blue at the Eurostar station in the wild the other day, and it was amazing. They do amazing stuff. I feel like, are they knocking out the park? Have they got some hits? I almost feel like they've got some hits at this stage. I feel like they're teetering on the edge of knocking out the park, but they're not quite there yet. Is my gut
I
feeling.
think they're an interesting one because usually when we're sort of knocking out the park, it's like they're trending in the right direction. I feel almost there's too many watches coming out. The collabs and things like that. So they're losing that brand identity, and they're losing that. That's the watch beats this
next year, we'd like just to see a little bit of a quieter, although their whole thing is being quite loud and sort of. We applaud them for that. We like that. We like that. So let's say some hits for now, and we'll come back to the next year.
Like it. Okay. We're agreeing far too much.
We are people. Let's get violent. Chapek we might disagree on.
Yeah.
For me, they're actually way off the mark.
Okay.
I'm going to come out there with my first bit of negativity.
Yeah.
That Antarctique. I just feel now it's sort of Christopher would have come in and done a better job of it. The designer that was there has moved to Christopher Ward. As harsh as that is, it's just nothing there that's appealing to me right now. And I know they've recently expanded their sort of capacity and their workshops. I don't know. I'd like to see more from them, and I'm not seeing enough. And for me, it's a clear work to do.
Okay, I would pull you up to some hits because I think, again, had we done this 2 years ago, I would have said they're towards some hits knocking out the park. As in, I just thought I did like their design aesthetic, and I did love their Antarctique and the different dial variations, and I just thought as a design that the strap,
bracelet,
that's the one. I think the bracelet's one of the best in the business, and I think that's all business. I love the bracelet. So I don't know, I just thought they were covering all bases. I like the micro rotor. I just thought what a lovely, nice packaged independent brand they were.
Yeah.
Lovely guy at the head of things as well. So I was like really encouraged by them. But you're right, last 2 years I've kind of gone,
they've just done a Ratchet chronograph.
Did a Ratchet chronograph, that was
insane.
beautiful. And that's what I mean, they were doing ratchet pants as well. So I kind of feel it'd be a bit harsh to say work to do, but I do feel they've lost their way the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because indies have suddenly grown and we're now looking, the names we're mentioning are of a higher quality. So they've been pushed out.
Or just a sort of a bit of a sexiness that they're missing. I don't know, something like a
No,
relevance,
I
a
agree.
bit more prevalent, but a bit more presence out there.
I would have thought about buying them 2 years ago. Now they're not on the radar.
So can we agree work to do for the moment?
Okay.
As harsh as it is.
Yeah, work to do for a moment.
Have I just
that's
taken a
amazing,
second
isn't
one?
it? 2 years ago, I
Incredible.
would have been right there. Anyway, right, Urwerk.
Urwerk. To me, it was a tricky one because inherently I know we both love them, and
I'm kind of strong on this.
Yeah,
I think
what was the model that came out recently? The anniversary?
Reloaded.
The Reloaded that we both loved. The black and
black
the
and the Yeah.
the silver dial.
Again, the proportion's small.
But the problem for me is there's just not enough there to be aware, to be engaged with. It's expensive stuff. It's very odd stuff. I applaud them for all of that. I love the avant-garde element, but it's just I'm walking in there and I can't get anything for a number of reasons. Price maybe, and also the avant-garde. I would get that one. I'd have that one for sure. If that popped up on the secondary at a decent price, I would fight to get it. But to me, it's some hits. And I mean, I'm even tempted to put them into work to do, because I feel like they need to do what restaurants have just done, and we'll come to restaurants. They need to come out with a product that is approachable, or like MB&F have done with the Mad series, right? Something just to give them a bit of make them more approachable. Exactly. To the Bronefeld brothers have recently done it, but not to the same effect, I don't think.
I'm with you. I think lower end of some hits, because I think the Reloaded and I do think there are other pieces I would.
Surely there's work to do though.
There is work to do, but that's what I mean. But yet that Reloaded is in. That's a real. We would both purchase it.
So that's a hit. Is that some hits though? I would say that's a hit, and that's harking back to the original.
Work to do. Work to do. Towards the top end of work.
We desperately want it to push. Next year we want it to push.
Towards and again, love the brand.
Lovely guys.
But also love the fact that they're again different.
Exactly.
You're buying something else.
We say it from love. We say it from love.
Yeah. Studio Underdog. Obviously collab with Moser. I mean, again, incredible value for what he does. Again, the finishing, the movement, and like you get that watch, and if you were to say to someone, how much is it? Like most people would have gone, oh, that's 15k easy, as in, and yet 2 to 3k and whatever it is in. Incredible, and again, clear design aesthetic. I quite like the newer stuff as well. So I think he's doing a great job.
To me, it's obvious. It has to be knocking out the park. Because everything he touches at the moment. Okay, he got a lot of pushback on the Moser piece, and I interviewed him recently, and he said, "Look, we made a bit of a mistake in how we communicated at times, or how not that he made a mistake with that collaboration, because that's not the truth, but he recognised that was a big step for them as a community. He's got an insane community. He's led by the community, and he has so much fun. Everything he touches pretty much is a banger. He's knocking it out the park. Studio knocking it out the park.
I'm with that as well.
Anderson
Genève. So.
Full disclosure, I do work with Anderson Genève, so I'm almost saying maybe you should run with this one.
Okay.
And I can't.
I mean, look, that's kind of a shame, because for me, it's kind of a shame. The reason I say it's kind of a shame, I think if you sit down other people, and this is why it's independent, it's how you feel about these watches. I'm sure lots of our viewers will completely disagree with our synopsis of so many of these. Anderson Genève was win the day for me, because I just feel he's a hidden gem. It's why are we not talking about him more often? As in, look, I was very lucky to go into his little manufacturer, that little room that he's in with the two guys working on watches.
And he welcomed you off the street.
Welcomed me off the street, then showed me all the watches, and when you get them in hand, the finishing, but also just what he's doing. Like the fact he worked for Cartier, the World Timers, the case of how small they are, what he does with them, it's incredible. Even the sexy watches, whatever they're called, those watches. Like there's just so much going on there. The jumping hours as well, the finish on those cases. For me, his design, I said, maybe it's to do with you, speaks to me. I'm a dial guy, and his dials are amazing. And then you've got.
Is there better value enamel dials in the market?
No.
If it had Patek on the dial, it would be 4 or 5 times.
And it's with a World Time.
Exactly.
And so you've got the movement, you've got the history. He created the independent. He got all the and so. I was hoping you would push back a little bit and sort of say, okay, hey, maybe he's had these ones that aren't that great, but yeah, for me, he's win the day.
Yeah, I can't dispute that, because all I would say is he's a lovely, lovely man. He still comes into the workshop there, and what's happened is that workshop, I think, was a piece unique place. It was a workshop where you'd come in and you'd have your dreams realised. He'd make anything. He made stuff for Tiffany. We recently saw a Tiffany Patek Minute Repeater sold at Philips. He did stuff with Chopard. He's done stuff all over the place, and now with P. Alexander in the last 10, 15 years, the CEO there, he's really streamlined it to say, we do World Timers, so we do a Tempus, Tempus with an officer case back,
stunning.
Beautiful arrow hands.
I'm waiting for one to come up the secondary market.
Exactly, they never do, and the more modern ones don't. They more modern ones, and then the Celestial Voyager with Benjamin Chi is just jaw-dropping. We looked at those hot air balloons, for example, just insane. But then he also does the jumping hour. And the gear shear dial on the jumping hour, all for what is a relatively approachable price point.
And secondary market, they go for less. most of the
I'd say
time.
the new ones we don't see very often.
Don't ever see.
But the vintage pieces of before that
Yeah.
tenure we do see, and there's great
Yeah,
opportunities.
I
Like
guess
you've got
well,
your,
yeah, I mean, I
you've
paid,
got your communication.
what, 9k for
Yeah.
mine, which now.
Oh, it's a Christopher Columbus. Sorry, it's a Christopher
Christopher
Columbus.
Columbus, yeah.
Anyway, we
Right,
both agree.
yeah,
win the
move
day.
on.
I've
Yeah,
shown
okay,
absolutely
great.
no independence there.
Hajime Asawake, I don't know whether I've pronounced that right, is in. He's seen as a watch
Kurono?
genius in
Kurono?
Japan. Kurono,
No,
he was the
he's-
guy
yeah.
behind Kurono. Obviously, that was his sort of studio underdog type
Yep. Offer.
siphonage. I owned a Kurono, really loved it, great watch.
Mm.
Thought that was great that he did that to fans. They got a bit maybe overhyped. I haven't held one of his own watches,
No, neither,
so
neither.
but I hear they're incredible, and I like his design aesthetic with it. So it's tough to know where, but I mean, he's kind of knocking out the park in terms of.
I think every Japanese watchmaker right now seems to be knocking
Yeah.
out the park. They have an obsession that's hard to knock.
Have you?
I've never handled it.
handled it.
I feel bad for putting him in that category in some respects versus our competition because we've not handled them.
Yeah.
But I feel that he's just. Then again, the designs, they're classical, but. You know, I would actually put him in some hits because we looked at an Art Deco style dial today, which was stunning. But there are only one or two of those that immediately speak to me. Maybe when we saw it in hand, it would be different.
I don't think he's got a huge back catalogue.
I don't think he does.
No,
Let's put him in some hits, and anyone
And
who's
I think maybe
got one out
we'll
there, we'd love to hear.
We'll include Kurono in the
In
some
that,
hits as well,
exactly,
because
exactly.
again, I think there's been some really good pieces that they've released and whatnot. So Naohida and Co. We actually did a we did a watch little Christmas celebration of what were our best watch releases of the year. One of those, I think, was the 1D3.
The Naohida.
The Naohida is in just again the finishing. I luckily held one in Dubai. It was unreal. You know, Tim Green, obviously, I know talked about it to you.
Let's say knocking out the park
Knocking out the
because
park,
I agree
we'll
with
move
you. I really like him.
Simon Brett.
Lovely, lovely man.
Yeah.
French from Clermont, home of Michelin. Incredible, absolutely incredible. Sort of the watch of the year last year.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of speaking to him this week. Just such a lovely bloke, and he's got this incredible view of bringing in artisans from the area, celebrating them for their skill sets, and then producing this insane watch.
Yeah.
For me, it's win the day for Simon Brett.
Yep, and with that, even the variations on it, obviously titanium case, then he's now moving to gold. So
He's got some bits coming out
and
next year.
there's subtle differences on the dial as well.
Yeah.
I mean, look, that watch for me was, you know, talked about it being our 5 best watches this year. He was, I think, number 1 previous year for me. So yeah, happy with that. I mean, look, he could get dropped from that because he's only really made one watch.
But it's only been since lockdown. He sort of formed the business in lockdown, so it's been just a few years. Incredible to see.
And the stories in that watch, amazing.
Yeah.
But we'll move on. Berneron.
It's got to be win the day. It's the watch of the year for so many, and I know it doesn't appeal to everybody, but the man's work ethic and his ability to still be positive, given the hell he's been through, by all accounts, having left Breitling and found a way to make this business work. I really love it. I applaud him. The movement's insane. He's built the watch around the movement.
Yeah.
It's got to be win the day.
Yeah, and I also liked. I wasn't sure about the numbers on the case of the ones that got all the fame, but loved that the next one, the Mirage, the following one, he reduced the
34.
dial size and it was a Tiger's Eye.
Yes, and there's
and
no
that
markers.
for me, no markers. I'm a little bit unsure about the Berneron motif.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether that suits the watch either.
I'm a little bit unsure about the hands, but I think.
But in terms
we
of
can
what he's
square
done,
away,
what he's done, and look, that Tiger's Eye, smaller dart.
I could see you wearing one.
Yeah, I was
Seriously, I could see you
That
wearing
was in my watch of the year.
Okay.
That was my.
I could see you wearing
my
one
pick.
next year. 2025, Pete's coming back for this review
With Simon
the
Brett as
burner
well,
on.
and, you know, just all, I mean, if you want to donate to the Pete Hodges,
There's a GoFundMe page
yeah.
at this time of year. So
mean, look,
many
you'll
people
get
far more deserving.
loads of content. We'll give you lots of content. It goes to a really good place. Jevdet Rishepi.
Yes.
You go on this one because.
So for me, it's win the day. He is in my list. I've had the opportunity to do a write-up for a few magazines, top 10 watch of the year. It was a watch that came out last year, the Minute Inerta, and it came out last year with a blue dial. Came out this year with a sort of pastel green dial, and it's just an insane watch, insane complication. He's not getting the limelight his brother gets yet. Again, a lovely, lovely bloke, and always just incredibly warm and loving. So the case is insane. It looks like something from Patek from yesteryear. 37 mil.
Should we? I reckon personally. Knocking out the park
I agree
because
with
I
you.
don't think
I agree
there's
with you.
enough.
I agree with
He's
you.
not
He's
released
knocking out the
enough.
park. He's knocking out the park.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I love that watch as well. But yeah. I mean that's another one again to the fun.
And it's a banger for the future, no doubt.
Yeah. So he's definitely one to watch going ahead. Roger Smith.
Very, very difficult year. Very
Yeah.
difficult year for Roger
Yeah.
because he's got the name for all of us that are so deep into it. You know, obviously he's got an incredible reputation.
He's God tier.
And it's hard to say that because he's obviously local to us. He's one of our compatriots. But the problem he's got is that I don't think he's been able to harness his community very well. In the same way, you look at MBNF and others, they have an amazing job. They do an amazing job of harnessing that. And okay, the watch volumes are a lot lower, but the secondary prices have really caught up with him, and he's then raised his prices at retail, even for people that have been on the books for a long time.
Yeah.
We've gone from say under £100,000 to over a couple of 100,000.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers because it's quite opaque.
Yeah.
But that's tricky. I think he's in a really difficult spot right now.
Yeah.
So I think he's got work to do, Odd Roger.
Wow, I mean, that's amazing. I mean, look, he's a God tier. I mean, he is the indie king.
He is.
The original.
But we want him to push on up that list.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. As in Voutilainen.
He seemingly is sort of doing really well, isn't he? I mean, he just seems to be doing his thing.
And again, GPHG was.
He's always
almost
winning.
every year.
winning.
He's always.
I wouldn't say I lust after his watches, which is quite a big statement to make.
Yeah,
because the dials are insane.
We're
Right?
too similar. To
he immediately doesn't connect with me, but I know that for whom he does, it's next level.
Yeah.
British is shaking your head, thinking this is going to be the longest
Yeah.
interview.
So look, I mean, are we putting him into? Because again, by the way, for this tier list, look, we have got accessible brands, and then we've got Voutilainen, who's almost unobtainable. But we are then analysing them still in the same tier list. So I would say some hits for Voutilainen, because I think some of his watches I am like
Agreed.
that they're insane.
Agreed.
And
We could hardly say he has work to do. I think that
No.
would be unfair.
No.
So he's some hits.
So that's roughly about 20 indies, but the beautiful thing with independents is that there's so many of them. So I think we're going to have to make another video. So make sure you stay with us for the next one, because it's coming up, and it'll be about another 20, I think, in there as well.
Please let us know, guys, as always, in the comments below. We are more excited, I think, about this video than almost any other we've done this year. We would love to get your thoughts below, so please do share. Until part 2, go well.